Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe, and please, yeah, it really helps. And leave your comments, ask me questions, insult me. By the way, go for it. I want to talk today about what's going to happen with the early release of over 5,000 prisoners. Well, that's it's called Operation Early Dawn, and that's going to take place in this month of September, and they're going to open the gates and allow people to come out after serving 40% of their sentence. I mean, I can imagine that the victims of their crimes are not going to be absolutely delighted to see the perpetrators of their grief walking the streets again, but there we go. There's nothing much else. Let's be perfectly honest about this. There's nothing much else they can do. Now, if we go back to the time when I was working at the Scrubs in 1975, the actual prison population was approximately 38,000. Now the population is 89,000, and they ain't got any room left. It's the system is full. Plus, of course, they've lost Dartmoor because Dartmoor's got radon gas. That's it, radon gas. Now, radon gas comes when I think it's the granite that it's built on, that the actual rocks below actually start to disintegrate, and they emit this radon gas. You know what fracking is? Well, it's a bit like natural fracking, but it's cracking underneath the prison and emitting the gas into the prison, and it's quite poisonous. So that's why Dartmoor is currently closed. Built in 1802, did you know that? 223 years ago. No, 222 years ago. And we're still using it today. We haven't made a great deal of progress when you think about it, have we? And of course, what are they going to use these extra places for that they're going to get when they release 5,000 prisoners onto the streets again? Well, immediately they're going to get about 1,500 of them back, because they'll just go straight on the rob and or whatever else they do, breaking in, drug dealing, molesting people, sexually abusing minors, you name it, they'll be at it. And so a good 25% of them will virtually instantaneously find themselves back in the criminal justice system. Of course, there's no capacity to deal with them now. The courts are knackered, the prisons are full, the police stations have got policemen that occupy McDonald's. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. And what will happen is that slowly the prison system is in a spiral of decline. You can see this. I mean, listen, as a matter of fact, one of my friends, a guy called Michael Fair, was telling me he was in Preston the other day, and he met a prison officer in uniform with keychain dangling, and said to this individual, are you actually a prison officer? And the lady said, yes, I am. Yeah, she was about 5'2", weighed about 9 stone, wet through, was as thin as a lat. He said, there's just no way that she would not be able to operate on the landings with anything like an angry man. I mean, that's the problem. Back in the 70s, 80s, when I was there, late 60s, that kind of thing, if you got people who wanted to have an altercation, then the staff were there to deal with it. The staff are not there to deal with it now. They just stand back and shout, "Stop, or I'll hit you with my handbag." A handbag? Seriously, that's all they've got these days. That was a quote from Oscar Wilde, by the way, the importance of being earnest. Anyway, what are they doing? Who are they putting in the prisons? Well, they're putting in grandmas who actually post online naughty things, saying naughty things about our friends. And I did some research on this. I thought I would, because quite obviously there's something wrong with society, isn't it? We haven't got a grip of it. In 1951, the population of the United Kingdom was just over 50 million. Just over 50 million. Today, the population of the United Kingdom, which by the way hasn't changed in size, it's still the same size it was in 1951, but now we've got 69 million, nearly 70 million people, probably more than that when we get the people who are not registered, people who are just arriving by boat, and then making themselves at home. So the population is in excess of 20 million more than there were in 1951. And I don't believe that they've built 20 million homes since then. I just don't believe it. So what is going to happen? Well, the prisons are continuing to overflow. We've got a complete recipe for disaster by putting all these criminals on the streets, but they haven't got any choice. I can see that. But the criminals that they're letting out, and they are criminals, convicted criminals, and listen, to get yourself incarcerated these days, you've got to do something really drastic. Unless you're a grandmother and you're using the internet to insult people, then you get yourself banged up. It's the thought police, you see. George Orwell wrote about this. But he also wrote something very telling in his seminal book, 1984. He states specifically that the answer to the problems of society lies with the proletariat, the proles. That's you and me. We're not the elite. We're not managing anything. We're not running the country. But the people that are running the country don't actually have the first damn clue what's happening on the ground floor. So the answer to all the problems is going to be in our hands. I'm not advocating any kind of informal interaction, but there has to be a solution, and it isn't just turfing prisoners out onto the streets and allowing the criminal justice system to collapse, which they practically have. Right, it's that time of day, folks. That's the song dinger. It's the best I can do. I'm going to locate that other bugger one of these days. I really will. In the meantime, I'm going to read you a poem. Some years ago, when I was writing children's books for Bloomsbury and Element Penguin and Scholastic in America, I used to tour the country for the schools service and give talks to children about writing books. And I thought I'd write a poem to entertain them. So I wrote a poem, and seriously, this went down. It went very wrong, because instead of getting a laugh at the end of it, the children were crying. And I realised then, I had to pay a little bit closer attention to the audience that I was speaking to, because at the age of 9 or 10, perhaps they weren't quite ready for the poem that I am about to read you now, My Granny's Last Gift. Are you ready? My granny passed away last year. At the time, I felt right sad. She'd always been a proper pal. Just to see her made me glad. I shan't forget her happy smile, her open, friendly grin. And all my friends, they liked her too. When she passed, it did me in. I won't forget her funeral. Half the town came out and cried. The church was full and people lined the streets from side to side. Then when the lawyer read her will, well, I really filled with pride. He handed me a little box from she who had just died. I took it home to open it. On the top it said, with love, a last treat from my granny, now at peace in heaven above. To think that she had thought of me. I pressed it to my chest and wondered what she'd left me now she'd gone to her final rest. A little tear came in my eye as I opened her last treat, and then I saw them resting there, looking all clean and neat. Now I'll never forget her happy smile, with a heart of gold beneath, and I'll think of her every time I see my granny's old false teeth. My Granny's Last Gift by John G. Sutton. I sincerely hope you enjoyed that, folks. If you did, sick parade tomorrow morning, 9 a.m, Arsfull of Largactil.